Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show. As you probably know by now, it's Pride Month, and the mayor of West Hollywood, who attended one of the largest Pride parades in LA last weekend, says his favorite part of the event was seeing the children. And have you ever heard of a rage ritual for women? Well, our next guests have, and you're in for a treat. All that and more with Alex Clark, host of the Spillover podcast, and Mary Morgan, host of Pop Culture Crisis. Ladies, welcome back to the show. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to this show on YouTube and follow me on Insta, Facebook, and X. Being in debt is like sinking in quicksand. You're trapped. You feel helpless, and the harder you struggle, the deeper in debt you can get. If you're trapped in debt, let me throw you a lifeline. Done with Debt. Done with Debt has created a new strategy with one goal in mind: to get you out of debt quickly and permanently. Done with Debt stands between you and your bill collectors, and then they negotiate a plan to end your debt permanently, without bankruptcy and without loans. They can get you out of debt quickly and put more cash in your pocket monthly. But you need to contact Done with Debt soon because some debt solutions expire. It's easy to get started. You go to donewithdebt.com and get a free consultation. What do you have to lose? Talk with one of their experts about a strategy that will end your debt faster and easier than you thought possible. Visit donewithdebt.com. That's donewithdebt.com. Ladies, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to see you.
Love your top,
both.
by the way.
Thank you so much. It's like I got attacked by a shark. Took out part of my shoulder. Let's kick it off where we kicked off our last hour because it's just so galling. Kamala Harris goes on with Jimmy Kimmel and has the nerve to say this. Listen to this longer version of what we played earlier.
When the verdict was announced, how do you get that information?
Rapidly.
Yeah. Are you watching TV or are you somebody relaying this to you?
Well, that kind of news, usually it's a combination of, there are TVs everywhere I am if I'm in the office, and then folks come in. So.
And are the people in the room pretending to not be happy, or how does that go?
I mean, in all seriousness,
yes.
A jury of 12 people, peers, over the course of 6 weeks, deliberated on the evidence and facts and unanimously determined guilt for 34 felony counts. The reality is cheaters don't like getting caught. And being held accountable. But, the reality is, let's just fast forward to, again, November. I think the American people want to know that there is a president who believes they are accountable to the people.
That's the reality. Got it? Cheaters don't like getting caught. Alex, your thoughts on it?
Well, we'll see what happens. I love how she said, we'll see what happens in November. We will see what happens in November. At this point, I don't think there are many people outside of New York City who really believe that was a fair trial. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Oh my! Don't get me started. I just think that the irony here, Mary, of the Democrats claiming the Republicans are upset because they cheated to win a presidential election is just too thick for me to actually get through without throwing up a little in my mouth. I look back at Hillary Clinton, what she did with Fusion GPS, not to mention ruining Trump's first term with all of the nonsense. And then secondly, Joe Biden and the Hunter Biden laptop and the denial of it all. I mean, the nerve to turn around and say, oh, cheaters don't like it when they got caught.
Well, I mean, I'm not a political analyst, you know that. I'm just trying to keep my head down. And I also don't want to get you banned off of YouTube. There are limitations on what you can say about cheating and 2024 elections and all of that. So I'm just going to zip my lips shut and I'm going to throw away the key.
Well, I'll say it. It's absolutely galling because if anybody cheated, it was the Democrats. It wasn't Trump. I mean, that's just a lie. You can say a lot of things about Donald Trump. He's controversial. He can be offensive. He doesn't always have an adult relationship with the truth. That's true of most politicians, but he's in a special class in some ways. However, he did not cheat to win the 2016 election. That was a lie that Hillary Clinton came up with to justify her pathetic loss. No one told you not to go to Wisconsin, madam. He won fair and square. You're the one who did your level best to cast him as a Russian spy, to get the feds onto him, to speak with Obama about spying on his campaign. Shame on you, and shame on Joe Biden, because he was part of it too. Okay, so speaking of Donald Trump, he has done something that has surprised a lot of people, and that is he joined TikTok. This is the same president who tried to ban TikTok, tried to force the ownership to sell. And Trump, I guess, has concluded, like, if you can't beat him, join him. And he's joined TikTok. Here's a bit of the first one he posted in SOT 20.
The president is now on TikTok. It's my honor.
So he joined Saturday night. As of Tuesday afternoon, he had 5 million followers. And the video he posted that I just showed there already has 77 million views. Just as a basis for comparison, the Biden-Harris HQ, they're on TikTok too. They have 354,000 followers, a number Trump passed in just a few hours. Pretty extraordinary to have 5 million followers. But what does it tell us? Anything, Alex?
Oh my gosh, it tells us everything. First of all, you have to understand that Donald Trump is and always has been the pop culture president. So the first time that I met him, I actually told him that. And he is the president and he's busy and he's meeting a lot of people and, he's perfectly polite, but he's not really paying attention. I mean, you get it, like when you're going through a lot of people in your meeting. And when I told him, I said, it's such an honor to meet you. You are the pop culture president. He paused and then he looked directly at me and he was like, you're right. I am the pop culture president. And that is why he terrifies the left, right? It's that he has his finger on the pulse of pop culture. He is authentically cool in a way that the Democrats couldn't manufacture in their wildest dreams for someone like Biden. And all he has to do is have some Gen Zer on his campaign, help him create different videos that have to do with different TikTok trends. He will become the biggest account on that platform. That will be huge for his election or for his campaign gearing up towards the election in November. So I saw Mike Cernovich, who I really love on Twitter. He said Trump needs to do that trend when he's like, I'm a political prisoner. So I blah, blah, blah. I'm a political prisoner. So I blah, blah, blah. He should be doing these types of trends, which would completely take over the news in a great way for him.
What do you think, Alex? Mary, because it's one of those things where, I'm not a huge supporter of TikTok, but I also am on TikTok because I want my message to be heard by these young people who are being indoctrinated with only left-wing thought. Maybe we'll get a few of them to see things in a different way.
Definitely. I mean, the only thing I was wondering about is why didn't Trump make this decision sooner? It seems like he was taking notes off of Vivek's decision to get on TikTok and appeal to Gen Z. And he was doing these collabs with like Jake Paul and stuff. And soon enough, like Trump is already popular with Gen Z males at the very least. He's going to get like the broccoli haircut. He's going to start like zinning. He's going to wear
I don't know what any of those things are. Wait, help us old ladies. What are those things?
And I believe he will be the president that captures the Zoomer heart through this medium. But I can't enjoy it because I've already been banned on TikTok twice. So
oh my gosh.
I'm going to have to watch from the sidelines.
What'd you do? Why? What did you say?
I don't even know what happened the first time. It's just if you make pro-choicers mad and they dogpile your account and mass report you, you're going to get deleted. And then the Pop Culture Crisis TikTok account also got banned because I think I was trashing the Mean Girls reboot. They got mad at that.
Really?
Oh
were the Chinese
God.
behind it? That's the other problem. If the Chinese are behind it, you can get they'll crack down on you. But whatever. They're almost as bad as the trans activists. Those are the worst. They constantly pile up on me online. I don't care. I don't care that I've upset you. Your mean insults are meaningless to me. If anything, I take them as a compliment. I know you're just very angry because you're trying to be female and you're not. Speaking of TikTok, the Biden-Harris campaign decided to share with their 354,000 followers a message about a story that's been in the news this week. I mean, it's been in the news since 2015. I covered this story the first time it came out, and it's been revived now. And it's about Trump allegedly, while he was hosting The Apprentice, allegedly using the N-word in front of people, and it allegedly being caught on camera. I remember people saying this before the 2016 election, like, oh my God, this is it. Like, if that's true, he's done. You can't, he'll definitely lose if that tape gets released. And then there was pressure on Mark Burnett. I remember Roseanne's ex-husband, Tom Arnold, kept saying, let's see the tape, let's see the tapes. No tapes were ever released. And Trump said Mark Burnett says that no tapes exist. And Trump says this didn't happen, more importantly. But now what has happened is a producer of The Apprentice, who says he was under a non-disclosure agreement, an NDA, for the past 20 years, has just seen the agreement expire. And now he is making the media rounds because he's promoting a book in which he makes clear Donald Trump is terrible, that he was aware of it. He was a witness to it. It did happen. And he believes there is tape of it, though doesn't know who has it and doesn't believe it'll actually ever come out. So let me just first show you what the Biden-Harris campaign posted on TikTok, 21.
Guys, you have to see this new report about Donald Trump. A producer on The Apprentice just came out and said that Donald Trump called a black contestant on his show this. And here's Donald Trump's own former assistant confirming that there's a tape of him saying it.
I had an opportunity to go out in Los Angeles and sit down with the person who actually has a copy of the tape. And I heard his voice as clear as you and I are sitting here.
You have heard the tape?
I have heard
since
the
publication
tape.
of this book?
Absolutely.
So you know it exists?
And I know it exists.
Anyone notice a pattern here? This is the same man who called to execute innocent black men and spread racist lies about the first black president. Donald Trump is exactly who we all knew he was, a lifelong racist. Black voters kicked Donald Trump out of the White House in 2020, and we're gonna do it again this November.
Okay, just a couple words on that. He did not call to execute innocent black men. He made public comments in favor of the death penalty for the people who raped a woman in Central Park years ago, and did not specify the specific defendants, though it was believed that these 5 black men perpetrated the crime after they confessed repeatedly without even having been accused. They volunteered to the cops. Okay, I did this to her, but I didn't rape her. And then there's a lot of questions still about that case. That's all I'm going to say for now, because it's a deeper dive. But he did not call for the execution of innocent men. That was Omarosa they played, the Biden campaign did, who used to work for Trump. She came to fame on Apprentice. And she made those comments back in 2018, right? So Omarosa's had a long, difficult relationship with Donald Trump. And she is a very interesting and smart, but I think she would admit difficult person herself. She's had a lot of relationship conflict, okay? She got fired by John Kelly and some explosive thing that happened inside the White House. My point is, there's some bad blood there, right? So that leads me back to the current guy who's out there making the rounds, and we'll play a soundbite from him in a minute. What do you make of it? Is this like a real story? Do you think this is going to have any traction in particular with young people, Mary? Because there's a reason they put this on TikTok.
I think it's obvious to everyone that this is an attempt at character assassination. I find it hard to believe that that tape exists or that she heard that tape herself. But, we're in the age of believe all women. Who am I to say? And also, this is just a repeat of the grab them by the P word tape, is it not? I feel like this is deja vu of 2016, and it didn't work then. Why would it work now?
That's a good question. The P tape, like the infamous tape. There are 3 tapes, that allegedly Trump had prostitutes pee on this bed in Russia. The one that said Trump assaulted Melania in an elevator and that there was tape of it. No.
Yeah.
And this one, the infamous alleged tape of Trump using the N-word.
There's a movie coming out, a biopic is coming out from Hollywood about Trump soon called The Apprentice. And it's interesting, the timing of it all. They're going to be depicting a graphic rape scene in that movie of Trump raping his former wife, who is now passed, Ivana, in that movie. And by the way, that is a claim that was made in their divorce deposition in 1989, which she rescinded herself not too long after.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
right.
just a straight defamation campaign, and this is another example of it.
Yes, not surprisingly, that movie, quote unquote, documentary, was written by Gabe Sherman, who makes his living trying to take down prominent Republicans. That's his thing. And first it was Roger Ailes. That was his white whale for years. Now Roger Ailes is gone, so it's Trump. Here is the producer, Alex, who's been making the rounds. He went on CNN to tell us how terrible Trump is.
And at one point, Carolyn Kepcher, who was the head of his hospitality unit and ran one of his golf clubs, sort of came outside herself and said, Kwame Jackson oversaw Omarosa, who was brought back onto the task and created all kinds of problems for herself and other people all along the season, but was great TV and was kept around for whatever reason. And for that, Carolyn Kepcher thought, well, Kwame deserves to be considered for how graceful he was in handling this. And Trump seemed to have an issue with this idea all along. You could see him reacting and shaking his head, wobbling his head, grimacing, wincing, before he said, yeah, but would America buy then he said the N-word, winning. And then I looked at Trump to see the reaction that he was giving, like it was some sort of joke, and he was still wincing and bobbing his head, and he was serious.
What do you make of it, Alex?
Okay, if Donald Trump called someone the N-word ever in his life, Megyn, you and I know they would not have been saving that information for 8 freaking years. It would have been everywhere. It would have been painted on every building, billboard, broadcast, and baby. If that was a real thing that happened and there was a recording or any sort of proof, they wouldn't need to be doing this charade through the court system that they're doing now, because that would have been the number one thing. That is the proof and the evidence that they have been wanting so badly for all this time. They wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, it exists. I've heard it, but it's not being broadcasted in every single outlet 24/7. No, it's completely fake. And I also want to point out how obviously scripted that TikTok was. That person was sent a literal script clearly from the Biden administration to read and was paid to make a TikTok. One of the Black Panthers founding members, David Hilliard, this week said that he is backing Donald Trump for president. I have seen no one covering that. He called him an ally of the Black population. But what is happening instead is that we're running with this fake, fabricated N-word story for the umpteenth time. And I also want to bring attention to the fact that right now, there is a reason why they are running with this fake apprentice N-word story. And that is because what is really happening is President Joe Biden just gave permission to Ukraine to use U.S. weapons to bomb Russia, which is instigating World War III. So all of this happening simultaneously, also while he's draining our strategic oil reserves to temporarily lower gas prices just so he can try to win the 2024 election. The Democrats do not want that to be the news. So they are talking about an N-word hoax with Donald Trump for the 150th time. Give me a break.
Later today, we have an interview with the editor-in-chief of Variety, Ramin Satuda, who's spent tons of time with Trump. Trump cooperated with him and has got a new book out about Trump, including these years, and we're going to get into all of it. It's going to be fascinating. I've known this guy for a while, so I can't wait to talk to him about it and see, what he learned. But yeah, this is like, okay, if there's a tape, show it to me, because you're right. This would be the silver bullet. You want to bring down Trump's approval ratings. I know I sound like one of those people. If there's a tape of Donald Trump using the N-word, okay, let's see it, because this is the silver bullet that the Democrats have been dreaming about, and it's never been produced. I think the goal is to have us talking about it, like you and I are talking about it, though they'd prefer we not talk about it in quite this way. Okay, that's that. We'll move on. But you mentioned pro-life and pro-choice a minute ago. So this story hasn't gotten anywhere near enough attention. Something extraordinary is happening here. And speaking of, in our first hour, we discussed how there's the feds, those who prosecute crime get to choose what they're outraged about, right? Like they're really outraged about falsification of business records, but not so much when a Democrat commits a crime or, when Hillary Clinton violates the law. And that brings me to the latest. This is from the Washington Examiner. Okay, activists participated in a blockade at an abortion clinic in D.C. They described it as a rescue. They used chains, bike locks, and ropes to block the clinic entrance for more than 2 hours. And we've now seen tape, and it does appear that they did that. It was not like one of those things where they were on the outside of the building silently praying. They were inside the clinic and they were praying out loud. So this is definitely against the law. But the question is, what should be done about it? What is the penalty? And we're showing the video now. One of the activists, Paulette Harlow, was sentenced to 2 years in prison on Friday, which brought the combined sentences of the 10 defendants involved in this incident to 23 years. Paulette Harlow, 59 years old. 9 were found guilty in jury or bench trials of violating the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act and conspiracy to violate civil rights. A 10th defendant entered a guilty plea for one charge. So my question to you is whether the punishment fits the crime here, Mary, because they definitely violated the law. I don't think there's much question about that. But 2 years in prison for this woman who is 59 years old, does the punishment fit the crime?
Yeah, I saw another report that was suggesting she's in her 70s and her husband is worried about her dying during her prison sentence.
Well, here's what I'm convinced. I think this is an old article, but in any event, you're right. Because what I saw was she was 75 years old, that she is 75 years old. Her name is Paulette Harlow. So I'm not sure if my old article is wrong. And they say she's in poor health too, by the way.
It's just obviously completely gravely unjust. I don't think that even needs to be stated right now. But I just got reminded of this case in the UK where a woman was praying silently outside of an abortion clinic. And she wasn't even close by. It was on a nearby sidewalk.
She was across the street.
And she was arrested for that. Yeah, she was arrested for that. Now, ultimately, she found out that she wasn't going to be prosecuted. And she got an apology, which, thanks for that. Thanks for the apology. It matters. But obviously, that's not completely analogous to what happened here. But we should be expecting that for what's to come, because this is extremely punitive for no reason other than their political beliefs. And our right to political expression is vanishing. It is vaporizing in front of us.
You can go outside of Supreme Court justices' houses and terrorize them. You can terrorize them, which is unlawful. It's unquestionably a violation of the law, and that's fine. That will not be prosecuted, Alex. But if you go because of your sincerely held belief, and by the way, this clinic is the most controversial. For those of you out there who are pro-choice are like, well, this is the most, in my opinion, disgusting kind of clinic there is doing these procedures. This guy, Dr. Cesar Santangelo, ran the clinic at the time. Live Action once recorded him during an undercover operation saying he would not help a baby in the rare event the baby was born alive during a late-term abortion procedure, which happened there. And there's more about him. So, I understand she was violating the law, but there was a reason that this older woman went in there and did what she did. And now at 75 years old, she's going into jail in poor health. And the husband cried to the judge saying, please, please, she's going to die in there. And the judge said, oh, well, maybe she'll just hope her way through it. Maybe she'll just be so hopeful about what happens on the back end that she'll live and come out and be free after 2 years.
Yeah, the judge actually laughed. The judge laughed when the husband was pleading for a lesser sentence due to age and health of his wife. anyone who is center right is under political persecution in this country right now. I mean, that is the moral of this story. One of these elderly women who's also involved in this story is now going to jail for several years. So she is who found what you're talking about with this abortion clinic. This is where the 5 late-term babies were found dead in buckets in DC. One of these women found them. She is the reason that the public even knows about them. So everyone is upset, and the reason that these women are being treated the way that they were, or the way that they are, is because we were never supposed to know. The public was never supposed to know what was really going on in this clinic. And by the way, this isn't the only clinic in the United States where they're performing late-term abortions like this, although this is the type of stuff they don't want us to know. Basically, we are told that late-term abortion is a pro-life hoax, that we have made that up, that, that's insane. Nobody is aborting, babies born at 9 months or letting them die after they're born full term. And then you have the 75-year-old woman sentenced to 2 years in prison, her husband begging the judge to reduce the sentence because, like we said, she's probably going to die alone in there. The judge is laughing in response. They want to make an example out of all of these activists, the January 6ers, President Trump himself. And I also want to bring attention to
where are the people who are bombing the family planning clinics, who are threatening the family planning clinics and putting Molotov cocktails in? Where are those arrests? I continue to wait for this Justice Department to do something. Stand by. Quick break. This month we celebrate Father's Day, and I want to talk about dads. Dads can bring values to the home. They can help you stand up for your beliefs. This Father's Day, I want to give you one way you could honor the legacy of dads with an AMAC membership. AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, champions the values of faith, family, and freedom. You can find out more at amac.us/Megyn. By joining AMAC, you support an organization that fights for principles you care about. And this month only, you get a 2-year membership for just $16. That's 2 years for the price of one. Join thousands of people in America who are proud to be AMAC members. Visit amac.us/Megyn. And let's celebrate Father's Day by standing up for what dads believe in. Happy Father's Day. Okay, ladies. So have you heard it's Pride Month? I don't know if anybody's told you.
Really? I didn't know.
Yeah, shocking, right? It's everywhere.
Well,
And
actually,
Megyn,
your dog
gross.
told me.
Yeah, my dog Strudwick, who was pulled into these culture wars against his will. It's rough, if you know what I'm saying, very rough. It's one thing, like, honestly, this started years ago. Like, I remember when it was like, be kind, be respectful of gay people, like, they have rights. So, okay, that's one thing. But here's another question. Now it's morphed into something totally different, as you know. It's completely vile and disgusting and in your face and raunchy. But why do the gays and the LGBTQ crowd, why do they get a month? Like, we just celebrated, or marked, I guess is a better word, Memorial Day, where we honor our dead soldiers. What? They get 1 day. Veterans who served their country honorably, they get 1 day. Why do the T crowd get an entire month of me having to look at their tuck-it bathing suits and their debauchery on the streets of America and insist that my children participate in it too? What kind of upside down priorities are these? Mary, thoughts?
Well, you mentioned that Pride used to be about, just being kind and respectful, regardless of everyone's sexual proclivities. Don't throw them off buildings, don't hate crime them and stuff like that. It's obviously changed, and it's been different for quite a while now. But it was never just about kindness. It was never just about love is love. It was always hiding something sinister and truly vile under the surface. And this is trite. Like, I wouldn't be the first person to say it. Plenty of people have said it. This is an inherently sterile movement. They are sexually sterile people whose only way of reproducing is to indoctrinate. And when you do that, you have to start as early as possible. And, if you think about Pride, underneath all of that fluffy, flowery language, and just really think about the acts which they are celebrating, and I'm not going to get into graphic detail, it's disgusting. And everything about this movement is, pressuring people socially to suppress their feelings of disgust and discomfort about these lifestyles, as they're called.
Mm-hmm. We've got examples up and down, but the mayor of West Hollywood, this guy, John Erickson, he had some thoughts, and this is one of the raunchiest, most disgusting pride parades that exist. Here he is talking about his favorite part of it in SOT 27.
What has been your favorite part of this event so far?
I loved going out there and seeing all the kids just living and being there with their parents of all shapes and sizes, and just seeing them having so much fun and giving them fans and throwing candy and everything like that. And then truly just in a world like today to have this right now front and center, we need it now more than ever.
Wow. That's what they want, Alex. They want our children, and they want every eyeball under 18 they can get.
Why does it always start with the kids, family-friendly drag shows? I thought obviously there's something perverse about it. It never occurred to me until Mary just said that they are sterile. They're not going to be able to reproduce the next generation of activists, so they have to corrupt the ones that you and I bring into the world. My mind is blown by that. That is just one of the most well-said, well-put, descriptions of what's going on. Mary saying that, I can't even believe it. I mean, I can, but I can't. But it is so disturbing. If you start paying attention, and you just mark down, you just start tallying, how many times do they bring up children? It is shocking.
Yeah. Well, here's another one. Here's a drag queen in Ohio, not leaving much to the imagination on the plan. This is courtesy of Gays Against Groomers that posted it on X. Watch this, SOT 31.
I won't change your little town. Your own children will. Your children will see us. Your children will love us. And your children will join us.
I don't think so. But they don't leave much to the imagination, Mary, right? It's like, this is our plan. We're coming for your kids.
No, they really don't leave it to the imagination anymore. They're confirming every day that the slippery slope was never a fallacy. I think about the innocence of children as something that was, supposed to be protected at all costs in any healthy society. And you asked earlier, why do they need a month? Why do these people need that much validation and that much public celebration? And why do they need to be worshipped like this? And the answer, I think, comes down to the fact that these are deeply dysfunctional people. The list of comorbidities with identifying as gay or trans is never ending. They're more likely to abuse drugs. They're more likely to have suicidal ideation. They are more likely to have been offended against sexually as children as well. They're more likely to be extremely promiscuous, to carry STDs, to also have domestic violence disputes when they are married. The list goes on and on and on. These are deeply dysfunctional people, and also they need narcissistic feedback from everyone else. The whole point of all of this is exhibition. And, people say it's fine if you just do whatever you want in your own homes, in your own bedrooms. It's fine, whatever, who cares? You're not hurting me, you're not hurting my family. But that was never the point. The point was always to go out on the street in your bondage gear and show everyone your micro penis. That was always the point.
I have to say, I see a distinction between gays and Ts big time. I know tons of gays. I'm from the Northeast. I'm from New York. They're all normal, upstanding, lovely people. Some married, some not. It's the T crowd where things start to go south. Not all of them, but way too many to want them parading down your neighborhood. And there are real problems with mental health in that community. I see it as completely distinct from gays and lesbians, especially in that way. But it's in our face. And the problem is all these gay organizations, like gay rights organizations, which succeeded in all of their missions, have run out of things to do. And so now they're propping up this other group, which is other in profound and important ways. That's not to say, by the way, that the pride parades, even when it was just about gays, were great things, because they were very raunchy and in your face, even before we got our trans insanity on, like now. Anyway, you were going to say something. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's probably also deliberate that it's a month-long celebration, not just one day, because we need the time to expose children and people to this lifestyle, because the more you're exposed to it, the more you just live with it, then your guard goes down. You're less repulsed, but you're less shocked because you see it and are exposed to it so constantly. And so I think that's interesting. And I also think your point of you have seen historically such a distinct difference between what is now the trans lobby and then, lesbian and gays. The loudest voice against the trans nonsense should be the lesbian and gays, because lesbian
Well, look at
and gay
that clip.
people
That
will
clip
be
we just showed us from
completely
Gays
extinct.
Against Groomers. Like, that's a great X account. Those are,
Right.
I think aren't they two lesbian women? I'm getting my accounts confused. But in any event, it's Gays Against Groomers for a reason. Sorry, keep going.
Well, yeah, because they understand that if we allow the trans people to keep running with this stuff, I mean, there will be no such thing as gays and lesbians, because every single kid who identifies as gay or lesbian is going to be transed. They're going to be castrated. That just isn't going to exist anymore. So if anyone should be outspoken against what that group is trying to do, it should be gays and lesbians, honestly.
It's so true. God, and use that word castrated. That's it. Yes, that's what's happening. I mean, I don't know why we don't really use that word to describe what these guys are doing to themselves, but that's it exactly. They're castrating themselves with abandon, and then celebrating it and posting about it on TikTok like it's something great. We talked about the RuPaul drag queen show the other day, where they had this woman who had chopped off her perfectly healthy breasts and then had fake razors chopping off breasts with blood coming off of her nipples and holding a bag of bloody breasts. This is serial killer stuff. That's beyond dark. Here is just a bit. You can see the pictures here of what happened at the West Hollywood parade in our second video, where they have no clothes on. Look at these men. Look at them. I mean, I see penises everywhere. This, I will say, is not unfamiliar to me. I saw this at the New York City Pride Parade for years. I don't understand, and I know there are a lot of gay men who also object, but how is it that this is representative of pride, right? What piece of this? It's if you want gay rights, if you want equal rights for trans people, okay, why do you have to get naked and show me your penis? How does that factor in to the cause, Mary? I'm struggling.
I think that if I had to sit in the armchair and psychoanalyze these people, the reason why they have to broadcast all of this and they have to strip down naked or nearly naked in the streets and show everyone how wild and raunchy they are, I think it's because really underneath it all, they are ashamed of what they're doing. And we've all known people in situations where they're doing something they know is wrong, and they double down on it, and they insist to everyone around them that they're adults and they know what they're doing and they're making themselves happy and they know what's best for them, and how dare you say otherwise. And it goes for issues of sexuality as well. I mean, most of all, because it's such a visceral part of our identity as well. It makes sense to me that they're doing this because it's like a dare. It's go ahead, tell me what I'm doing is wrong, because they know it's wrong.
Well, that leads me to something interesting that you wrote about female rage. And it dovetails perfectly in with these there's rage retreats that women are going on. And these tend to be the most privileged, advantaged women in America. And what are they exactly so rageful about? Something you recently wrote about and have pondered. So walk us through it. What's happening with the female rage movement?
Yeah, there were a lot of points that were converging when I decided to write this piece about female rage. One of them was this wellness trend, which really I think is just kind of a version of witchcraft, called a rage ritual. And it's led by a self-proclaimed witch, so I'm not just making that up. And all of these women pay thousands of dollars to go out into the woods together and scream their head off and bang sticks on the ground and think about all of the people who have wronged them and all of the injustices in their own lives and in the world. And somehow this is supposed to be cathartic because you are like composting your trauma. I think that was the wording that she used. It's like kind of a form of recycling.
Meanwhile, you can do this for free. We could all go out in our woods today and scream and yell with pots and pans.
Yes, you can do that whenever you want. And I just had to think about why these women are so unhinged. And I had to admit to myself, like, I kind of feel like that sometimes. I don't express it because, you shouldn't be a menace to society. But there is this like rage bubbling up in me. Can you relate? Like, am I crazy?
I feel rageful when I see these jerks talking about trying to indoctrinate my children with their weird perversions. Yes, I do. But here's a little bit. So here's some footage from women at the Rage Ritual Retreat. This was posted in May, but the original source is Mia Magic on YouTube. She's the woman behind the ritual. Watch. I feel sad. This is like our schools in New York after Trump won. A spitting image. So wait, let me stick with you on this, Mary. What are they so angry about? Like, truly, you can see them dressed in their Lululemons. Like, these are obviously not, they paid thousands of dollars. So they have some money. They have some spare time because, most people can't take a few days off to go to a rage retreat. Some were mildly attractive. So what are they so unhappy about?
I love mildly attractive. Obviously we're living in a time of material excess, and we have an excess of everything that we might want and all of the comforts that you could possibly dream of, and the clothing and the makeup, and you can live this life where you work a mindless job in HR or middle management, something like that, and you don't need anybody. But you're living in an extreme, quiet poverty of everything that a human being needs to flourish. And I think these women, they're the epitome of the affluent female white liberals, the awfuls. Like they would never admit this to anyone else or to themselves. But I think they feel a deep discomfort with the direction that society is headed right now, where crime is skyrocketing. This society is becoming less and less safe. There's less financial security. There's less predictability. You also look around and see no testosterone anywhere to be found. Like, all of the men are just becoming complete wimps. And it bears out in the statistics that T levels have never been lower in decades, and it's not going to get better anytime soon in that regard. So you really look around and see all these weak men, and I totally understand having a response that is absolutely hysterical. And that used to be a medical diagnosis, by the way. You could be diagnosed with female hysteria. I think we should bring that back.
So Alex, interestingly, the Free Press also had a piece about this in May by Olivia Reingold, and the title was, "I Went to Karen Summer Camp." Karen Camp. I love that. I want to go, but no, wait, when I read more, I don't. Okay, so she writes that there were nearly 50 participants. They showed up to the same woman's Zoom for her first ever live virtual rage ritual. That only cost $47. That's not so bad. Happened at 1 p.m. in the afternoon when most employed individuals are still at work. Olivia points out, correct. And here's some of what she says. This woman who runs it, Mia, gives us a 6-minute warning about the the powerful purging we are about to experience, which could lead to the re-traumatization of our pasts. Okay, this is already a bad idea. Stop re-traumatizing yourself if you actually had trauma. Try to compartmentalize and move on. The more time you spend thinking about it, the more damaged you will be. That's my 2 cents for what it's worth. And I've had a fair amount of trauma, so I know. Okay. Who do you need to yell at? She runs across her bedroom to bark at us. More. Go. The vibe now, according to the writer, is now Soul Cycle at Hogwarts. By 20 minutes in, there's a shift with Banducci, that's her last name here, now taking a softer tone like she is tucking us into bed. We are told this is our last chance for grunts, sighs, and groans. Can you imagine? Ooh. Okay, I just got it for free right here on the MK Show. And we collectively turn to the ceiling to emit one final howl. That I refuse to do. This is the best part. Okay, ready, Alex? At the end, a woman asks a question. If you don't have something specific to work with, do you feel like just showing up and working with the energy of rage is enough? They all know what she's asking. What do we do if we're not angry at all? What if we're a Karen without a cause? The answer goes as follows from this woman, Banducci. More often than not, what I'm raging about is like injustice in the world. You know, like what's happening in the Middle East, plastic in the ocean, the enslavement of animals. Like, you know, there's a lot to rage about. And I have found that when we make ourselves vessels for the rage that is due to greater injustice in the world, you're still composting it. Like you're still alkalizing it. You're still being in service to it. Oh my God. I can't.
This is exclusively an American privilege. Can I just say that?
Girls,
Only
we need to
women in
have this woman
America.
on. Would you please come back? I'm going to try to book her, and I want you two to. I need you to participate.
Live rage ritual? We're going to howl together?
We need to just cross-examine her on her methods and her borrowed rage. Keep going, Alex.
I mean, okay. My unique take on this is women are unbelievably idle in modern America, and this causes problems. So these women, you know, they claim that we don't have enough in this country, we don't have rights, and then when they, obviously that's not true, so then they run out of things to be angry about. No one else, in no other part of the world would they have that privilege. I think that we have everything in this country as women. So we're bored to death. Modern women are making a large disposable income. We have no family. And therefore, we're spending this disposable income on stupid crap like screaming in the woods for thousands of dollars. And I just want to remind you, this same thing happened in the 50s. So let me just remind you of this. Okay, so in the 50s, what happened? You had a whole bunch of really, really bored women. And the feminists said, well, it was because the 50s were so terrible. Women were unpersoned. We didn't have rights. It was a terrible decade for us. And they hate it. And I also hate the 50s, but not for the same reasons that the modern feminists do. So all of the modern conveniences and inventions that made homemaking easier, like TV dinners in the 50s, laundry machines, frozen chicken, saying all those are bad, but they all came so quickly that women basically had no idea what to do with their time. So they got super bored fast. And then what ended up happening is they revolted into what became the sexual revolution, right? Because women need to feel like they are contributing members of society. Marriage is good. Kids are good. Having someone to look after and pour into other than yourself is good. And it curbs becoming self-centered. These liberal women have everything in modern America, so they have to come up with ways to feel marginalized and have something to do with all of their excess time and money. Hence, what we're seeing here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you brought up the 1950s too, because I'm thinking about the stereotype of that housewife who she gets beaten up by her husband every night for burning the dinner. And she's also taking pills all the time to try to forget the pain. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because we should take notice of the fact that women these days are on these insane pharmaceutical cocktails of antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, on birth control, even Adderall and things that are stimulants like that, and they're drinking. And all of that mixed together with just the neuroticism they were gifted with is a recipe for social upheaval.
Yeah,
Right, there
so
could be a
Megyn,
chemical cocktail if the more you ingest that is not natural to your body, and the more troubles you imagine for yourself, right? I mean, whether it's the women at Karen Camp or elsewhere, it is a toxic combo. Go ahead, Alex.
So that is absolutely true what Mary's saying. Women right now, we are a sedated generation. Most of the decisions that we're making on a day-to-day basis are done under the fog of SSRIs or hormonal birth control, which completely affects your personality, your interests, who you are attracted to. I'm going to be talking about this in my speech at Turning Point USA's Young Women's Leadership Summit, which you're speaking at this weekend in San Antonio. And one of the big side effects of these drugs, of something like an antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication, which I would be willing to bet most of those women, if not all, are on, one of the main side effects is severe depression, suicidal ideation, anxiety. So it's actually making everything worse. And nobody is talking about that.
I think it's so problematic because, look, I know that those drugs can help people, especially short term, if they're going through something really, really terrible. But we're just handing them out like Pez, and people get hooked on them, and then they get like used to them, and then the only solution is like a bigger dose or a different kind of them. And the people, meantime, many of them aren't doing anything to solve their actual problems. I will say, as somebody who's now in her 50s, who had many, many years with birth control, I'm a big fan of it. I love birth control. I know there's a backlash now amongst younger women, but it did nothing but good things for me. It cleared up my skin, gave me regular cycle, let me be able to have action without having to worry about an unwanted pregnancy. I'm a fan, but I realize
Megyn,
many people feel differently.
Next time you have Mary and I on, we'll debate you on that.
Okay. Well, I mean, you can't debate my actual experience. It was awesome.
No. I know your actual experience, but we'll convince you why you should be maybe joining us and speaking out against it. Yeah, critical.
Okay. All right. Well, I will say it does have very nice benefits for your skin, depending on which kind you use. And I loved that. Okay. Ladies, thank you so much. Great debate. Goodbye, my fellow Karen campers. It was fascinating talking to you. Crazy.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thanks to you both. Later today, we're going to dive into the biggest political stories of the day with guests from the left and the right, plus an exclusive interview with Variety editor Ramin Satuda on his new book about Donald Trump and The Apprentice. We'll see you then.